I should probably mention, if you guys haven't seen Visions yet, you should probably come back later after you watch it, because I will be talking about spoilers.
So who talks first? You talk first? I talk first.
StarWars.com released some fun facts about some of the episodes that I found were very interesting, and I wanted to share it with you guys here. So I guess one of the first one is the whole entire series. Where did this concept come from? Well, according to some of the creators of the show, the title for this series, Visions, actually was inspired by a book that George Lucas had commissioned. There was a book written in 2010 that was a Star Wars art book filled with diverse pieces of commissioned work by George Lucas himself, and it was titled Visions. And it was just concept art that wasn't used in anything that they've done before, but it was from a variety of different places, different art styles, and this is actually the book that inspired Star Wars Visions. So it's to see that George Lucas had two different forms of inspiration on this animated series. Now, the second fun fact is actually about one of the episodes. It was the episode called Lop and Ocho. I forget which number episode this was, but this was honestly one that I was a little worried about because it just looked a little weird. But I will say now, this was actually a fantastic episode. I really loved it. I thought it was one of the better ones. And if you want a synopsis of it, you can watch our review on it a little later. But as far as the fun facts about this episode, so the character, you can see in the video, or if you've watched the show, you know the main character is a bunny. It's a bunny rabbit. And she comes from a planet of bunny rabbits. And that's why I was a little hesitant to watch the episode, because it just seemed a little weird. But it wasn't weird. It was great. It was fantastic. And it's funny because this character was actually inspired by an original Star Wars bunny character called Jackson, otherwise known as Jax. And you can see his photo down at the bottom right there. Now, this character was created back in the 1970s. It was one of the original first comic book characters for Star Wars. And he was a fun-loving bounty hunter type character. Fun fact, he was actually friends with Han Solo. But during the development of the Lop and Ocho episode, the director, Yuki Agashari, asked his team if they knew of any rabbit characters in Star Wars. And the mechanical designer, Ismo Juki, I could be mispronouncing that, but he immediately thought of this green-furred Jackson. And a quote from Yuki says, "He told me about this species called the Lepus carnivorous living on Kochel Prime. Lop is quite small, so I imagined it could be sort of kind of species Lepus carnivorous." So, fun fact, that is where the origins of this character came from. And again, watch that episode. It's great. It's not one of my favorites, but it was definitely one of the best ones I've seen of the series so far. The next fun fact that was released was actually about another one of my favorites, Tatooine Rhapsody. The episode about the rock band in the galaxy far, far away, sponsored by Jabba the Hutt. So the song at the end of this show, which I don't really remember the words, but I remember it went like, I sounded bad, right? But that was actually pretty close to how it sounded in the final version of the song. I thought Joseph Gordon-Levitt's voice sounded bad. His singing voice is not good. I guess it worked for this episode and what they were going for, but that was my least favorite part of the music side of things. But anyway, so the song for Tatooine Rhapsody was inspired by the Ramones song Blitzkrieg Bop. And I thought that was very interesting too, because now that I think about it, I go back and listen to it, and yeah, they're really similar. And that band itself, I forgot what they called themselves, but the Tatooine Rhapsody, they were very similar to the early days of the Ramones, especially the Hutt character who had like the black hair. Now, again, this was a good episode. It was probably one of the weaker ones, honestly, but I really loved it because I'm a guitar player, and I was all about this show. And his lightsaber microphone, you can't go wrong. That's pretty cool. The last fact that StarWars.com said about Visions was about probably my favorite episode, which was The Ninth Jedi. The Ninth Jedi was the longest episode of this animated series, but it was definitely my favorite. And so what they had to say was that this episode was actually supposed to look and feel completely different. So the production company who wrote this idea actually began developing their story as two different pitches. The director Kenji Kamaya had said that he was fascinated with the original separate story ideas of a lightsaber blacksmith and a masterless Jedi. So the production company pitched both ideas, and Lucasfilm is actually the ones that offered the suggestion to merge both the stories into one to create one animated short, which I think was a pretty good idea. Their quote here says that after seeing these characters and the kind of world building that they had, it became really clear to me that these two stories that lived together in the same space, same level. And I gotta tell you, I'm really glad that they merged both these stories because I thought it was perfect. This was my favorite episode. It was the one that was left open-ended, as if there's more story to tell. I really hope so. The girl character, who is the daughter of the lightsaber smith, was great. I really loved her enthusiasm and her will to become a Jedi one day. The whole idea of the lightsabers changing color according to who is wielding it was amazing. That's been done before. We've seen that before. But to see a color not yet be realized by this young, soon-to-be Jedi was something we hadn't seen before. And the twist of it, where it turns out that all those Jedis in that little room, well, not all of them, but for the most part, they were Sith. And I thought that was great. And then the one guy's lightsaber turned purple because he was actually more influenced off the other's dark side energy, and it was feeding his dark side energy, and he became Sith that way. It was a great episode. This was fantastic. I'm really glad they merged both the story ideas because it just made it better, I think. And I think that's probably why this is the longest episode of Star Wars Visions so far. Yeah, guys, if you haven't seen Visions, watch it. Episodes like The Elder are fantastic. The Twins is phenomenal. Everything. If you guys love good storytelling, short form storytelling, and Star Wars, you can't go wrong with these episodes.